So I changed it to Practicing the Presence of Prosperity. The title, and the reason I did this is Sue and I have put together 4 short classes on prosperity. And we did our own cliff notes for each one. Each one is different. And, the word prosperity means to flourish, to succeed, to thrive, to experience favorable, wonderful things in our lives. So when we did our cliff notes, we chose 4 books. The first one was Catherine Ponder's Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. Last Thursday was Eric Butterworth's Spiritual Economics. We're going to skip this week, and then the following week will be The Law of Attraction by Neville Goddard. Then we skip another week, and on the 29th, it's Shortcut to a Miracle by Michael and Elizabeth Rand. It's been fun doing this, synthesizing a whole book in Cliff Notes. And the things that jumped out at me during the first 2 classes was both authors focused on the importance of having a presence of prosperity, the presence of mind to be prosperous. Catherine Ponder wrote that the basic law of prosperity is radiation and traction. Now, at first, radiation, you go, wait a minute. No, it's radiating the feeling of prosperity. You radiate your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs about prosperity, and then you attract that into your life. It's the law of cause and effect, obviously. But most people think prosperity is money, and it's that, but it's so much more. Prosperity to this center is having the ability to have the air conditioning on this morning. The prosperity in my life could be our 2 adorable cats. For you, it could be a successful job. It could be a number of things. And if we're awake every day to look around us and see what makes us smile, what makes us feel prosperous in our own heart. Sometimes taking a watercolor class, you can feel prosperous if somebody just praises your watercolor or wants to buy one. That would be fun too. And I was thinking of those people who were impacted by the Carr fire, because we had a week ago Friday, we had a Carr fire healing service at Unity. We did it with the Unity people, and it was really wonderful. There's some pictures on the door, and standing room only. It was a really great thing, but they've received a lot of assistance, the people who were impacted by it, and they may not have known where that assistance was coming from. And there may be some feeling of, okay, I've turned the corner, I'm feeling a little more prosperous now, and being open to what else comes their way to help them recover. This spring we had a lot of rain. I don't know about you, but our yard was full of thriving, prosperous weeds. I don't know, they just came out everywhere. And we were just like, oh my God, how do you deal with this many weeds? So we have wonderful neighbors that we feel very prosperous having them around because they're full of knowledge. I think she's a great gardener. So they gave us some ideas, and Paul got busy and I helped when I could, but he did most of the hard labor. And it's finally back in control. And every day when I go home, I look at that yard and I go, oh, I love our yard. What a feeling of prosperity, just to have a place of beauty at your home. It is all the law of cause and effect, and we can't get something for nothing. But if we don't form that channel, open up that channel to receive, it's just kind of stuck. And we have to give before we receive. Like in the Bible, you have to reap, or sow before you reap. You have to plant before you can get great things. And so it was interesting to me that Butterworth focused on the word substance. Substance. Substance is everything. It's not the minutia. It's not the minute. It's a funny word. Particles. It's the space between particles. That's what he's focused on, the space between particles, because there's a force field that holds particles together to make this podium, to make the chair you're sitting in. And this force field keeps atoms and everything in their proper orbit. And I think they called it the Higgs boson a couple years ago when they figured this out. But it acts like a particle. The field acts like a particle. So this great mystery can be applied to our relationship with God, the force field that's there. We say our prayers, which are energy. We look around us at our abundance. But there's a force field in the power of the infinite intelligence that is moving things around and keeping life a bit orderly. We are the activity of God. That's our substance. We are the activity of God. That's a powerful statement to me, because it's our mind and our emotions that open up the connection with divine intelligence. It's our mind and our beliefs that radiate our desires. And it's the force field of the love and the power of God that responds. If we have limited thoughts, we have limited experiences. So the key is to seeing things and feeling things as already accomplished. Now, Mary Morrissey was here several years ago, and we have given her prosperity program several times. And I was pulling out one of her books the other day, and I remember the story that early in her early years, her church was in a theater. And one day, they unexpectedly received a 30-day eviction notice out of the blue. Well, they were very shocked. I mean, it's not like you're kicking out some bad tenants. They were very good tenants. But the leadership met, and they felt, oh my gosh, we don't even have enough money in the bank to put a down payment on a new place to rent. We don't have enough money to move all our belongings to some place that we hopefully can find and rent. And so she found herself just sitting there in the midst of her many people in the leadership team going, oh God, I really need help. And all of a sudden, a big hawk came and landed on the windowsill of the building and screeched at her. And she felt, okay, God's screeching at me. Oh my gosh. She felt scolded, really scolded by God for even doubting. So it took this hawk. She looked up the word hawk, the symbol of hawk, and it's the unmistakable and ever-present power for overcoming any obstacle. That's a hawk. So she realized that they weren't even coming up with new ideas. They were kind of just stuck. So the leadership team decided to go out and talk to the congregation, tell them. And darn it, if one gentleman said, I'll loan you all the money you need and you pay it back when you can. And so that helped them move forward in her ministry. It was a really great thing. It's a co-creative process when it takes a hawk to make you wake up. I think that's a great story. And I'm sure you've heard the word or the phrase, there is no spot where God is not. It's a simple sentence, but it reminds us of this truth that the divine flow is everywhere present. And I call it grace when I'm talking to some people who don't attend our center. And this grace is just in the ether. It's just there, and either we're open to it or not. And it's flowing all the time. It's kind of like the ocean of limitless potentiality. It hasn't taken form. It's waiting for us to help. Give suggestions, give ideas. It's up to us to decide what is it we really do want. It invites us to feel that connection with the divine. So it's that consciousness of living in the substance of the divine that Butterworth is talking about. Just like a fish lives in water and doesn't really understand water, we're living in that substance also. And it's ceaselessly supported. I'm very fascinated with the people in the 1800s who decided to think outside the box of religion, because there were many fundamentalist beliefs at that time, and they thought outside it. They thought, no, we're not sinners. We're not going to hell if we don't go to your church. And they came up with this philosophy that was called New Thought. And one of those early pioneers is Emily Cady. Now, Emily, in 1871, was one of the first women physicians in our country. I think that's amazing, 1871. She became very involved in spiritual and metaphysical studies. She was inspired by Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the New Thought people, known as the Transcendentalists. And in 1892, she wrote a series of little booklets called Lessons in Truth. And Unity picked it up and put it in their magazine, the little Unity magazine. And later it was compiled into a book, and Unity was the first publisher to publish her book. I found that fascinating. Later, she was a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins. Isn't that interesting? We say, dear Emma, our dear Emma, who knows how perfect we all are. And she also associated with other people like Emmett Fox, who created or started Divine Science, Ernest Holmes of Religious Science, and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore of Unity. So she associated with all those people. I think that's just an amazing thing. Here's what she wrote. One of the unerring truths in the universe is that there is already provided a lavish abundance for every human want. In other words, the supply of every good awaits the demand. Another truth is the demand must be made before the supply can come forth to fill it. Cause and effect. So there really is a big difference between wanting something and knowing you have it. I mean, I really want something, but that if I'm going, I really want, it means I don't have it. So I have to switch my consciousness to knowing it is happening. It's happening now. Because if we say, yeah, someday I want, well, someday will never come. We have to believe our desire is here now in the present moment, and that's the power. It's the attractive factor. When I draw it on a board for someone, a whiteboard for somebody, you have causes our conscious mind, and subconscious mind has an energy with it that believes what we're thinking about, what we're focused on, we really want more of. And so we have to think about that. Emily offers this affirmation. I am secure, for I know who I am, a richly endowed child of God. I'm secure in all that I do, for I know my oneness is with the divine process. I'm secure in all that I have, for I know my treasure is in my mind, not in things. I live my day to day in God's support, which is as dependable as the air that I breathe. Powerful lady, you might want to read her book. In the 1600s, there was a gentleman by the name of Brother Lawrence, who was a Christian monk, who wrote that practicing the presence means continually reminding ourselves that the activity of God is always going on within us. Our fortune begins with us. If we think of other people as having lack, that's also our thought, and we don't want to experience that lack. But when we think of other people as having it, that word, that energy goes also into the law of cause and effect. So the golden rule is, in prosperous thinking, do not say or think anything about anybody that is less than whole. Judgment. Today's issues in the world. Are we thinking of any that are less than whole? Because I frequently hear comments from people. Oh, I'm so judgmental. Oh, I just don't like this. Oh, I hate that, or this, and all these things going on. And in truth, we're not causing all these things to happen. But collectively, we are. Collectively, the minds in this country are causing these things to happen. If we add our own negative comments to the ones that we already hear ad nauseum, we become synchronized with that negative energy flow. So I hope you think about that today. Am I synchronizing myself with the negative energy out there? Or I'm going to stand in my truth and know I am in the divine flow of love. Eric Butterworth says, our thoughts are so fast, and they travel at the speed of light. But he says it's like, they're so fast, it's like turning on a switch and having a light bulb go on. They're that fast. They travel that fast, and they impact everything. Now, we don't make the light bulb, but we turn the switch on. We turn the switch of our judgment, of our frustration with things in the world. It's real in our experience, but the truth is that we turned it on. We're part of what turned it on. We're either on the side of the problem or we're on the side of the solution. In the Bible, John 24:15 says, "Choose this day whom you will serve." By our thinking, we're either adding to the good or taking away from it. Henry Thoreau wrote, "If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours." So this knowledge has been around for a long time. So why do we worry? Anybody worry about anything? Worry is based on the belief that something undesirable is going to happen, or that it already exists. When we worry, we vividly put together pictures, don't we? I'm worried because this is how it could look, this is how it could feel, this is how it could be. We give it life. When we worry, we think about the end, not the beginning. But the beginning is now, with our mind. So either we're going with worry or we're going with the knowledge that God is love. The universe is permeated by love. Because in Job 3:25 it says, "For the thing that I fear the most comes upon me." I don't care to have that happen. But years ago, my mother, I dearly loved my mother. We were best friends. And I was really sad when she finally passed away from lymphoma. But she told me at the time, like 6 months before, her sister passed away from lymphoma. And she told me, "I'm going to get it too." No matter how hard I tried to get her to change her mind, she was confident. She knew. And she got it, and she died from it. But the interesting thing, 2 hours after she died, and I was in the car going back to the house that she lived in, this wave of love came over me, and I could see my mom and her sister dancing, just dancing up a storm. And in the background, I could see their mom, my grandma, laughing because she had this great cackle. It was just whoosh. And so I never felt sad again. I just smiled. It gave me deep peace. And I just feel so prosperous for having a family, a mom, and her grandma, or her mom, who were so positive. They were always positive. There's always an answer. There's always an answer. It was a great way to grow up. So, are you practicing the presence? Will you choose to do that today? And I could kind of feel it. Somebody in the audience is saying, I know I should, but. Yeah, but's a bad word. It implies self-limitation. I know I should practice the presence, but I'm too busy, all these answers. But we have at our instantaneous thought a priceless tool, and I urge you to use it more. Because faith isn't some vague thing, believing in something. I believe in God. But our faith turns on something. It's a power that's already within us. It's not believing in God, it's believing from the Godness we are, from it. Big difference. It takes practice. I know that. I'm still practicing. Shouldn't be any hindrance to you since I've been practicing since 1990, but the benefits along the way are many. I remember a couple years ago, Mae McCarthy was here, and she presented a gratitude workshop. She is one of the most uplifting people I've ever met. She just beams with gratitude and joy, and she said every morning she gets up and she dances with joy because what she wants and what it's coming around and it's coming here. And she said, every day I talk to my CSO, my Chief Spiritual Officer, And every morning I get up and I get a piece of paper and I write, "Dear CSO," whom she calls Cosmo, kind of a cute word. And her letter goes something like this: "Dear Cosmo, thank you for what I have," and she lists some things, "and thank you for what I now have," her desires, what I now have. "Thank you for this power operating in my life, and for all this good and more. I give great thanks. I now release these words to the law in truth and with the power of the universe behind it, knowing that you, my partner, dear Cosmo, my CSO, you're working on it now, and so it is. In gratitude and love, May." Interesting way to start the day. Tap in, be grateful. Let the universe know what it is you desire. So Thanksgiving is a big part of all this too. Now, Thanksgiving is causative energy. I'm thankful I have it now. It's an energy. It goes into the cause and effect. It helps create that carving of what we want in our consciousness. So if things aren't flowing our way, here's something you may want to say. "I accept the reality of this situation, but not its permanence. Something better's on the way. I watch my words, and instead of 'I have a problem,' we say, 'I have a project, an opportunity to grow.'" And then Eric Butterworth also talks about tithing, kind of a refreshing way. We tithe in his, well, it's even in the Bible, tithe to where you're getting your spiritual growth, where you're getting your spiritual support. He says that we are the windows of heaven. And when we tithe, we are giving our blessings to our spiritual community. We are the windows when it comes to tithing. It puts us in the flow of limited substance. And also it gives our spiritual home its financial stability. So for that, we're very glad. You know, in the Bible, it's often said, "Give to God first," because when we put God first financially, it opens our mind and our body and our affairs to the power that's there. And when tithing is business-like, like it's consistent, it's orderly, it's practical, we have the expectations of receiving. As you give, you receive. So we open up that pathway again. But Butterworth says, don't be fooled by the magic of tithing, like I'm going to give and I'm going to get back in this way. It's a technique. It's not magic. But when we consistently support our spiritual growth, where we're getting our spiritual support, the benefits will be obvious, however they come back to you. So can our personal prosperity impact the world? Absolutely. You're only one person, I'm only one person, but we're one with the divine. Heck of a partner. I can't do everything, but I can do something. And what I can do and recognize I can do, I ought to do. And what I ought to do, with the grace of God supporting me, I will do. It sounds like a song. I can't do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I ought to do, and what I ought to do, by the grace of God, I will do. We'll see if Dalton can put some music to that. But I encourage you to take some time every day to be in the presence and the power of this one infinite intelligence for the purpose of prosperity, not only for yourself, but for everyone. So let's pray about that. There is only one thing going on here, and that is the love of God that has created the whole universe, that's created each individual person here today, each individual person in this country with love. And I know when we honor the source, when we honor where we are, and when we honor the grace-fulfilling energy of God in our lives. Magical things do happen. It's all the law of cause and effect. And so as we put prosperity out there for ourselves, our center, and the city, and the county, and the whole country, it adds to the consciousness of prosperity. And seeming magical things happen. So today I give up any worry, I give up any judgment, I give up any concern about the world, and I give it prosperity and love and joy. This is the power of being in the presence of God. I give great thanks for those who came before us, showing us the way, even though we didn't pay enough attention, and today we are. Today we're looking at how we approach the world in the positive light of God's love, or not. And today I accept for each one here, choosing prosperity in relationships, in work, in creativity, and in health. Positive, prosperous health, energy. I let these words sink into my conscious mind, into my subconscious mind, which is the energy field that draws like to us. I accept that this is the law and how it works. And I let these words flow through my mind to your mind, into the universe, knowing it is so. And so it is. Thank you.